Tonight I'll read Chapter 6, The Secret Tunnel. Heart pounding and furious with herself, Emily ducked back into the shadows. Now they were certain to be captured. She turned in panic to tell Sam and the warrior what she'd done, but neither of them were paying any attention to her. The warrior was reaching up weakly, searching the underside of the stone door frame with a black-gloved hand. Suddenly there was a click and the faint scraping sound of stone against stone, and a damp, sour breath of air blew out at them. Emily's heart leapt. A way out! The door to the tomb had opened inwards, revealing a darkness greater even than the shadows they huddled in. Exhausted, the warrior simply leaned into the gap and fell limply into the blackness. Sam quickly squeezed through and was gone. Emily took a deep breath and followed him. The stone door was cold and rough against her fingers. She could see nothing in the darkness beyond, a clinging strand of cobweb wrapped against her face and mouth. She brushed it off hurriedly. Once inside, she turned and quickly pushed the heavy door shut. It clicked into place. She could hear Sam breathing loudly in the dark. She put her ear to the cold stone of the door. There were voices outside. "I saw someone right here." Even muffled by the stone, she could hear Taverner's whine. "A girl!" Emily jumped as someone on the other side kicked the door. "Just disappeared into thin air, did she?" Ferriby was scathing. "Or did she float through solid stone like a ghostie?" "Look at the inscriptions on the tomb." Taverner's voice sounded shaky. "Third one down." Ferriby grunted. "Lady Rosamond Hawker, aged 15. Taverner sounded terrified. "That's her, I'm telling you. That's who I saw." "Well, she ain't here now. Gone back to her ghosty friends, no doubt, and taken those people that the chief wanted us to catch with her." "Do you think so?" Taverner sounded horrified. "Don't be so frogging stupid. They'll have headed off in the opposite direction as soon as they saw you start chasing shadows. They'll be long gone now." "I need a drink," Taverner decided. "You're buying," said Ferriby. "I don't get paid enough for this nonsense." To Emily's relief, the voices started to recede. "What do we tell the chief?" "Let's worry about that after the second pint." "I did see her, you know. She was pretty, but kind of fierce looking." "Maybe it's best not to tell the chief that." The voices faded out of range. Emily let out a long breath. "They're gone," she said. "Do you think there are dead bodies in here with us?" asked Sam nervously. Emily fumbled around in her pocket and found the pocket torch she picked up when she left the house, seemingly days ago. She flicked it on and lit up Sam's pale, anxious face. "Hey, not in my eyes." "Sorry." She shone it around the inside of the tomb. It was bare, except for a flight of steps leading downwards. She shone the torch down the steps and saw the warrior's motionless, black-clad body lying sprawled halfway down. They rushed down the stairs. The warrior's breathing was ragged. Fresh blood showed up bright red in the torchlight. Emily shone the torch down to the bottom of the stairs. It was a long way down, but at the end she could just make out the beginnings of a narrow canal with a rectangular, flattish boat floating on it. She started to lift the warrior's upper body so she could get an arm over her shoulder. "Help me, then," she said to Sam. They carried the unconscious warrior down the steps as gently as they could and hoisted the limp body with some difficulty into the boat. Sam looked down the low tunnel. The torchlight didn't reach far, and whatever was beyond was lost in darkness. "I suppose we just have to see where it takes us." "I wonder if there are other tunnels like this one," said Emily. "Secret ways under the town." Sam looked at the boat. The wood was beginning to rot, and already there was an ominous dark patch on the floor planks at the end. "Maybe, but it doesn't look like this one has been used in years." He spotted a box under one of the low seats and fished it out. "There's a lantern in here, and some weird-looking matches." He opened the lantern glass and struck one of the matches, which flared up with an unexpectedly large flame and an acrid-smelling cloud of black smoke, almost making Sam drop it in surprise. Coughing, he hurriedly put it in the lantern and lit the wick, then threw the blazing match into the water, where it floated, still burning and throwing out quantities of black smoke, before eventually extinguishing. The lantern cast a warm, yellow light across the damp, green-stained stones in the tunnel's walls and arched roof. From the front of the boat rose a thin iron rod a couple of feet tall, with a hooked end. Sam hung the lantern from it and stood in the boat. The warrior was at his feet, still unconscious. Sam considered the black cloth and mask that wrapped and concealed the warrior's face. "Do you think he can breathe properly with that stuff covering his mouth?" "You're not unwrapping him to see who he is," said Emily firmly. "I'm sure he has a very good reason for not showing his face. If he's from the Abbey, maybe he's not supposed to kill things, and if others found out who he is, he'd be expelled or something. Or maybe if people knew who he is, he'd put other people we know, who know him, in danger. Or maybe he was in a fight with one of those creatures before and got horribly mauled, and his face is so disfigured he can't bear to show it." Sam shivered. "Stop scaring yourself and let's get this boat moving," said Emily. "We need to get him to the doctor." An old tarred rope ran through iron rings attached to the ceiling. By reaching forward and pulling on it, they moved the boat forward. To begin with, this was surprisingly difficult, and several times Sam, who was at the front of the boat, accidentally pushed the boat backwards rather than forwards, and nearly ended up falling headfirst into water. Fortunately, Emily was able to grab the rope and steady the boat each time before he took a bath. They quickly found that the best approach was for one of them to pull 10 times, whilst the other rested. Then the other took over and did 10 pulls, as their arms were tired, and so on. The tunnels twisted and turned. Several times they passed the dark mouths of other tunnels. All they could hear from them was the lonely sound of dripping water. Twice they went through areas where water ran from the tunnel roof, making a glittering veil of golden droplets in the lantern light. The second time, Sam looked up at the wet ceiling, where glistening dark green algae tendrils hung down like stalactites. "I wonder if that's a canal up there." He looked nervous. "How solid do you think this ceiling is?" He had visions of the ceiling collapsing and the water from the whole of Wyrmwell's canal system pouring down through it on top of them. "It'll collapse at any moment," said Emily heartlessly. "Better get moving." Sam pulled the boat forward with renewed vigour. The tunnel seemed endless. Their arms ached with the effort, and their hands were sore and stained black from the rough, tarred rope. The warrior was now lying in an inch of water at the bottom of the boat, but there was no way of emptying it to make the journey more comfortable. Occasionally, a grating, pain-filled groan issued from behind the mask. After what seemed like hours, Sam said, "There's something up ahead. I think we're there." He thought for a moment and then added, "Wherever there is." They hauled the boat tidily up the last few lengths to a stone platform that marked the end of the canal. The boat bumped against the terminal wall. The children lowered their burning arms with relief and shook them to try and get the blood flowing again. They looked around. Stone steps ran up from the platform to a stout, wooden arched door reinforced with dark iron bands. There was a small closed hatch in the door about head height for an adult. There was no door handle. It appeared that it could only be opened from the inside. Emily felt a growing sense of nervousness. If the canal had led them to the Abbey, then they could hardly expect a warm welcome. Although it was an open secret that the monks worked with a few chosen traders in town to exchange the spirits they made for supplies, the monks otherwise kept themselves completely isolated from the rest of the town. The prospect of even talking to a monk face to face gave her butterflies. It would be like talking to someone from another country. Would they even speak the same language? She climbed the steps with trepidation, took a deep breath, and then rapped hard on the door, harder than she'd anticipated. She flinched as the echoes clattered off the walls around her. There was no response. She knocked again. Again, no response. "Let me try," suggested Sam, hefting a lump of rock he'd picked up. "If it's like the canal, the door won't have been used for years. And it's probably the middle of the night as well. We may have to wake someone up." He stepped past Emily and hammered violently on the door with his stone. Before he'd finished, the grille slammed open, and an angry male voice shouted roughly, "Oi! Stop knackering my door! You know I'll get here as quick as I can." Sam dropped the rock guiltily. A pair of bloodshot eyes under bushy white eyebrows stared at them in surprise through the grille. The children obviously weren't who he'd been expecting to see. "Who the hell are you? Go away!" The grille slammed shut again, with a clang that sounded as final as a door closing on a tomb. And that's the end of Chapter 6. Good night.